Lots of love and blessings, and welcome to this episode on how to receive divine help. How do we get magic powers from beyond, God's help, spiritual help to manage our life? And if you've ever felt like life is too much, there's too much going on, you can't handle it on your own, you're struggling, it's too stressful, and you need help from the one who has all powers, but you're not sure how to do it, that's what we're getting into in this wonderful episode. So welcome. Hello Shireen, how are you doing?
Hello, Michael. Yay, great.
Fantastic. So for those of you who don't know who we are, my name's Michael and this is Sister Shireen, and we are spiritual teachers. We've been teaching and practicing meditation for roughly 60 years between us. Shireen's been doing it for 30 something years. And we are very happy to share our experience with you in the hope that you can feel more peace, love, and joy in your life. So I wanted to do this episode today because I'm about to go on a trip. Going back to England after 18 years. So I'm surprised.
Whoa, right?
It's bizarre to me that that has been so long, because I left England thinking I was only going to be there for 6 weeks, and I had no plans on moving to America, and it's been 18 years. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. I find it bizarre. I'm sure
You did have an American passport though, right?
I did have an American passport. That's true. No, actually, I didn't have an American passport when I left. I only had an English one, and I was told I might get fined $10,000 because I wasn't on my American passport. So that freaked me out on the plane. I'm like, I might get fined and sent back to England, but it didn't happen, luckily. So anyway, that was an unusual experience, and I'm going back in a week. A week from today of recording this, I will actually have landed in England and be going up on a bus back to Cambridge, where I used to live. And in the meantime, between now and then, I have to finish an enormous amount of work because I don't want to do anything while I'm away. And so I've been working on this hardcore, like 10 hours a day as best I can. And this morning and last night, like my house was a mess because I'm recording all this stuff all over the place. So I woke up this morning, had meditation. I was like, I need help, right? Because there's two kinds of energy. One is, what am I personally doing? My own power, my own like capacity, my own ideas. But there's actually a higher power that is much more intelligent and has better ideas and has more energy than I do. And so I think what I personally have noticed in myself is that even though I know all these things, if it's something easy, I'll just get on with it, right? But it gets to a point where certain things are too difficult and there's too much pressure and it's just beyond my capacity. And then the ego says, all right, I need help. And so I sat in silence and I asked for guidance. And I feel great, and I got some fabulous ideas which are far better than anything I was thinking of beforehand. Like, why didn't I do this earlier? What the hell's wrong with you, Michael? So it's like only when we run out of all other options, in a way, do we finally surrender and say, I'm willing to receive help. So that's what we're getting into today. How do we do this more often and actually receive that support and blessings?
Yay.
Yeah. So what's been your experience with this, Shireen? I'm sure you've had lots of experiences. You are running a meditation center after all, aren't you?
Right. You know, the first time I've had an experience with this was looking at Dadi Janki. And one day, I was just seeing her, right? And I think she was over 91 or 92 when she became the head of the Brahma Kumaris. Can you believe this? She became the head of the Brahma Kumaris at 92.
What a wonder.
What a wonder, right? Something to that effect. 91, I think. She became the head of the Brahma Kumaris. And I was looking at her going from country to country and traveling and this and that. 91, right? and really from care. And, like she really cared about people. She wasn't doing it for anything else because she really cared. And so I asked her, Dadi, how are you doing this? How are you managing all this? And she said, I work on God's power and you work on your own power. God's power is making me move. And so I watched her, right? I watched her, how she surrendered. And because of her surrender, how she was able to do so much more. And so it was reminding me of that, about when you were talking about increasing your capacity, that when you surrender, you shouldn't think of it as letting go, right? There has to be a reframe of identity. The reframe of identity should be, it's not like, oh, I'm surrendering, because the word surrender is very hard. Or I'm giving up control, right? Because that's what surrendering means. Like you're saying, I'm giving up control. But the reframe of identity should be, I'm being held, I'm being guided, my capacity is increasing. And so then it's easy for us to just give it up. Otherwise, we want to tightly control everything.
No, I don't want to let go. It's my idea. I want to do it the way I want to do it. Yeah, it's that's a very good point. Yeah, the word surrender has quite a few negative connotations, and because normally it means that you're giving yourself over to the enemy, actually, in terms of war. The white flag. So that's not a very helpful connotation, but really what it is it's upgrading our capacity to the one who has all powers, because we have some power, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be able to do anything. But God has all powers. So there's a big difference. I remember years ago I was reading something along these lines, that there's personal will, which in other words is my personal opinion and how much energy I have. And then there's God's will, and God's will is like just the power of it is way higher. That's what Dadi Janki was doing. She's just got this massive power, getting things done, and so what we're really talking about is there's a better way of doing things, and there's actually more energy and more ease and grace, and more opportunities and more options. Because my own experience is that when I'm trying to get something done and I'm forcing it to happen, it becomes like a tunnel vision, and somewhat obsessive. I have to finish this thing, I have to do this thing, and it's push. But divine will is like stepping back and saying, yeah, but there's all these other options, and do you even need to do this at all? Like you could just maybe don't do anything sometimes, or do it differently, or do it later, or so there's a whole range of shifts. And one thing I remember years and years ago when I was in India, Mohini Didi was saying something in a class that I heard, and she said something along the lines of this, that for many years she was asking God to help her get stuff done that she wanted to get done. All right, she's like, I need to finish this thing and I need your help. And then she realized that it's better just to surrender and say, what do you want me to do? Like, how can I do your will rather than my own will? And I remember her saying this because it's a big difference. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing, no? Like we are kind of, this thing though about surrender, right? There has to be a mid path. One extreme is I'm not doing anything, or I even don't take initiative and I'm just waiting to see what, comes my way. And then, that's one extreme, right? And the other extreme is I have to do everything. I have to do this. And so I feel it has to be a mid path. I think, yes, many times we do get signals and signs that this is the way to go. But if you're not getting signals and signs, that doesn't mean we just sit on our tushy, that I feel that we need to do things, and then while doing it, keep surrendering. And also, not only while doing it, keep surrendering, but also if at any point it doesn't feel right, that I have the courage to let it all go.
Right. Yeah. If it's, I like this quote. If there isn't contentment in the service you're doing, then it's not service, and you can let it go.
Right.
You know, because it's not coming from the right place. And if it's, and a lot of the time, you know, we could actually be making things worse by doing something.
Right, right. And it's so interesting, right? Whether you're surrendering it to God, or whether you think God came up with the idea and you need to do something. What I've noticed is it's so nuanced. This whole aspect of doing, right, is so nuanced, because many times when you're doing an auspicious task, there are many obstacles.
Right.
There are many obstacles in an auspicious task. And so you can't give up, right? And so you can't at that time say, oh, it's too hard, maybe God doesn't want me to do it, and just give it up, right?
Right.
I'm surrendering, I'm giving up and done.
That's
right?
what happens a lot, isn't it? I mean, I hear this all the time from people. Oh, it doesn't feel good. Oh dear. But actually, anything of value is going to have some challenges along the way. It's not going to be.
You have to, walking into any task, right? You have to prepare yourself for this. There's something yesterday you said, which I've been thinking about. You said that about coaching, because that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you said to get really good at coaching, you need about 2 years. Right? People think, oh, they'll just take a course and they'll become this grand coach, right?
It takes time.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
And so in that 2-year time, I mean, you can speak more to this than I can. In that 2-year time, imagine the amount of obstacles that are going to come.
Oh yeah. You're going to get all kinds of challenges and do things wrong and make a mess of it. You know, any things like that. Playing the piano, learning marketing. You know, learning how to cook. I mean, some things might not take 2 years, but there's always challenges. And so we can either force through with our own capacity, or we can connect to God and receive the power, which then and also it's more light, isn't it? It's more light because we can see it all as a game. It feels like a game. When I'm having remembrance, God's connection, remembrance, then everything seems kind of like I'm safe and secure and everything's kind of fun and games. It's not a big deal. Like, it's going to be fine, you know. But when I'm not in that state, then it's just like, this has to be done, and only after it's done, then I can finally relax. It's a very, very different feeling, isn't it? Those two states of being.
Absolutely. It is a game, right? It is a game, but not to give up on the game. But, you need to know when you can give up on the game. You know, when you need to cut your losses and move on.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying this is so nuanced. This is so nuanced. If at any point you feel, oh, this doesn't feel right, it's possibly your laziness talking.
Could be. It's very nuanced, isn't it? It could be it's actually a problem, or it could be that you need to, get it together.
Yeah, 90% of the time, I think it's just your laziness talking.
Yeah, laziness is a major issue, and if we have a good look at ourselves, I mean, I've been doing quite a lot of work on what do I need to change in myself, and why have I ended up in situations, or why didn't certain things happen? And it's mostly down to laziness, actually. Laziness and procrastination, avoidance,
Right. They're major vices, right? We think anger or this or that, but laziness and arrogance, they're major, because there's a certain arrogance also, right? And it really relates to surrendering to God. The arrogance that I can do it and I can do it better, or I'm not sure God's going to help me, or I think, oh, but there's no God, or, all of these things, right? Keep going on and on. And it's really coming from arrogance.
That's right. Arrogance is, me, my opinion, I know what's right, I'm going to do however I want. That's why, related to that, the solution to that is what we were talking about earlier, where am I...
Surrender.
Just let it go, let it go. Am I doing what I want, or am I open to serving a higher purpose or a higher power? Do you know what I mean? Because that, I think there's like behind it, one is when we're taking action and we've decided what we're going to do, but even before that's happened, is my goals and intentions and reason for doing things before I even do it coming from the right place, or is the starting point a negative, selfish intention? I think that's very important as well, because if we step back and say, hang on a minute, why am I doing anything? Am I serving a higher good? Am I serving the highest good for all? Or am I just running around creating a bunch of stuff or doing a bunch of things because I want to do them? And is this genuinely the best use of my time? Or could there be something better that I could be doing instead? Because if the seed of the action in itself is selfish and self-centered and forceful, then even if I'm trying to have a remembrance of God and get God's power, the initial drive behind it is off to start with. So what I'm trying to do these days is say, what does God want me to do? And I don't always know, because it's very nuanced, right? But I'm at least open to sit in silence. Is this genuinely the best use of my time? Is there something else I could be doing instead? What about this? What about this? Because at least there's an openness to change course if necessary, and
Right.
get the help.
One of the things I feel about surrender, which is very important, is you have surrendering to God, right? It's the ultimate trust, act of trust. And so, one of the things I used to always love when I came to this country was two phrases. Is in the pursuit of happiness was one, and in God we trust was the other. And to really open yourself and say that this is an act of trust, right? It is an act of trust. And, I know you don't watch shorts, but I recently saw a short with this little
I've given
girl,
up.
right?
What did you see? Another chicken?
No, not another chicken. This little girl, this is a real thing, right? She's holding on to a pillar. Uh-huh. She's holding on tight, and she's saying, "Mommy, mommy, help me, help me, help me get down," right? And the mom looks around and says, "But you're really close to the ground," right? And so then she puts her feet down and she's able to touch it. And I feel that's what it is, right? Surrender is this act of trust. We think we can't trust. We have had issues around trust. All of these things have happened. But this particular trust in God and surrender something to God really is an act of surrender. And you are this close to finding your salvation, to finding your, solution, to finding what you really need. You're this close. And so don't give up, right? Especially it's like a spiritual technology. I keep telling you this, that lately I'm very clear that every single person on the planet Earth can be happy. We have the spiritual technology, we have the techniques, we have the tools. They work, we know they work. We have that for every single soul on the planet to be happy. But what happens is many of us are not, right? And surrendering to God is one of those technologies, one of those tools to really be happy.
Yeah, you should write a book about this, Shreen. I'm just cutting you off there for a minute. You could write a book called everyone could be happy if they want, because that's actually like a really big deal what you're talking about actually. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a major big idea. Everyone in the world can be happy, right? That's really big.
We have.
Yeah.
Right, I've spoken to you about this before,
Yeah,
and
you
maybe
have.
we even did a podcast. I don't remember,
I think we did.
but this thing of remember I was telling you that we have enough food in the world for everyone to eat properly. Do we have enough food in the world for
No, it's
everyone to
probably more
eat
than, I
properly?
think a lot of it goes to waste, doesn't it?
Plenty. Yes, a lot of food. But why are some people starving? Because of distribution problems. I won't get into the politics of it. But because of distribution problems, some people are starving. It's the same way with happiness. I'm not talking about pleasure. I'm talking about deep life satisfaction. Right? You could be happy. And surrendering to God is one of those tools. Surrender, surrender, surrender.
Yeah, so we can.
And you will notice how close the solution you're looking for, not the solution you're looking for, but the solution you need is this close.
Right. So there's a whole range of things here. One is, where is our intention in the first place? Are we open to surrender? Are we doing it from our own personal will, or receiving power to come through us? And then when it comes to negative feelings or stressful feelings or whatever challenges, then the actual experience of letting go, the surrender in the moment, is very, very helpful. Because let's say I'm experiencing some pressure, self-imposed pressure, because I have to finish this stuff, right? I can have those thoughts and feel those feelings, or I can surrender that to God the moment it arises, without having a story about it. That, to me, that's one of the magic secrets of spiritual work, actually, is in the very moment that it arises, without getting into it, offer it to God. Say, take this away. I'm letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. And it's like stack of like little cards. That's how I think about it. So I'm feeling something. Oh, I need to finish all this stuff. I've only got 3 days to do it, blah, blah, blah. So then I surrender it up. So there you go. Here's the latest bunch of nonsense for you. And then look, there's another one here. Woo-hoo, and there's a big stack of them over here, which I'm just going to keep giving up, right? And then after a while, I'm like, oh, there's none of this. It's all gone, you know. And then oftentimes I get like a divine idea comes down from above, and I'm like, oh, this is definitely a better way of going about it than what I was already planning.
Absolutely. You know, based on what you're saying, right, the example you're giving, one extreme is you give it up and say, oh, I'm not going to put this pressure on myself, I'm not going to do it, and just give it up, right? That is not surrendering to God.
It's the feeling
Right.
I'm talking about. Surrendering the
Yes,
negative
like you're
feeling,
not you're not giving up on the idea.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
you're not
Right,
giving
right.
up on the idea. But you're giving up the pressure.
Right.
Right, you still have a deadline, but you're giving up the pressure,
That's
and so that is very nuanced.
That's a
Right,
good
because
point.
many people mistake it and say, "Oh, I don't need to do it. Why
I'm
am I
just going to
putting
not do
myself
anything.
under
I'm just
pressure?"
going to eat chocolate cake for the rest of the month and see what happens, you know.
That sounds a really good
chocolate
idea,
cake
actually.
and ice cream. Yeah, we're gonna have chocolate cake and ice cream for a month, and we're not going to do anything else and see what happens.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
another
That
option.
sounds like
if
a
anyone-
very good idea,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, well,
Like
that's-
recently, I rediscovered chocolate cake, and I ate so much of it.
You have to fast for a week to deal with it. Yeah, it's well, we all love chocolate cake, don't we? So I mean, you could surrender it up and then have some chocolate cake and then get back in the game again. So we're adding a step here in our little system. So
Right. If it is hard, right? Okay, there is a point, what you're saying, there is a point about chocolate cake, right? if life is hard, right? Like you have to do hard things like you're doing. That's not the time to go on, a sugar-free diet and this
No,
and
no,
that, right? That's not the time.
no.
Eat what you need to do, but finish what you have to finish.
That's right. Yeah, I was just, this training that I'm working on, I actually did a session that I said, if you need to eat cookies while you're doing this, that's totally fine, because we don't want to have go fasting, no sugar and no this and no that and all this other stuff, and have a bit of grace, a bit of self-compassion, a bit of ease.
Right.
So we're talking about surrendering the negative feelings and also just being open to guidance on a better solution, because what I personally have found is that silence is golden and silence can produce better ideas, even if it's not like God directly giving messages like that, because it may or may not be, but we can listen to our own knowing, or we can open to a higher version of things in the silence. I actually personally find that going for walks is very helpful to clear my mind. Moving around is very helpful, or just sitting in silence and just being like, I'm surrendering this problem, surrendering the feelings, and I'm open to whatever's the highest good, whatever the best solution is. And it could be something different from what I had in mind. And if we're willing to sit in silence long enough, many, many times we will get some kind of upgraded method that is easier and better and much more effective than the ego's limited little, it has to be like this, the way I want it to be. So, yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
We this thing about balance, right?
The middle path, Shree, the middle path.
The middle path.
That's what you keep talking about, the middle path.
The middle path, the balance. You can't go to extremes, right? You have to balance.
Have you ever gone into extremes?
Do I go into extremes? I did this past weekend. I ate a lot of chocolate cake.
And now what are you doing to balance it out? What did you do yesterday?
I went on a water fast. Here's the thing.
So balance sometimes is going from one extreme to the other then, isn't it? In a way. And it brings it back in again.
But no, yes. I want to talk about this particular balance though. Balance is to integrate two positive qualities into your life. It's not about doing and not doing. It's about integrating two positive qualities into your life. And so when it comes to surrendering to God, right, there is a balance. The balance which we had in our lesson this morning, child and a master. So I'm a child when I'm surrendering, right? I'm a master when I have to do things. Again, child when I'm surrendering, master when I have to do things. So you have to be a child of God, you have to surrender certain things, and then you have to be a master and you have to take responsibility certain times. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a very, it sums it up very nicely, doesn't it? Because a child is saying, I don't know, I'm open to help, I'm not, I don't know, what do I need to do? Child is basically open to receive guidance from the parents. Because children don't know how to do everything, because they're learning skills and they're learning how to do things. Whereas a master knows what to do and can get on with it and is skilled. And I think we need both. I mean, if I think about this, even this morning, right? So I was like, I got all this stuff to do, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, let me just be a child. I didn't think of it in that way in particular, because I hadn't read that in the morning. But let me be open to guidance here. From a higher power, from the master, from the one who has much greater amount of capacity than me. And then I did get some ideas and I wrote them down. And then when it comes to it, I need to take action as a master, and to whatever degree possible to remember the master while I'm doing those actions as well, for optimum success. And what, honestly, whenever I sit in silence and what do you want me to do? I ask God, what do you want me to do? I always get the message, stay in remembrance. Remember me, because stay in remembrance. I'm like, I can't say how many times have I heard this. It's like, because that sort of solves a lot of the problems, doesn't it? Just remember me and you'll be all right, because then we're getting the power while we're doing things. And in Raj Yoga, the main teaching that we hear like thousands and thousands and millions of times, the main thing is consider yourself to be a soul, because that solves like 90% of the problems straight off the bat. And then remember me, remember God. So if we just did that, then basically most of the situation is sort of sorted out before anything's even happened.
Right.
But it's hard to do, has to be said.
Right. I want to double click on what you're saying about remembrance. What I've noticed is that every time I remember God, there is a new, fresh energy that comes to the situation. I can't describe it. Can you describe what I'm saying? Something shifts, right? Like, let's say I'm having a situation even with a person, right? Some kind of conflict with a person. Mm-hmm. I start remembering God, and somehow it infuses this dynamic with something higher. And the resolution is easier because of that. And so this whole idea of remembrance, why should we remember, is because it brings the whole thing to a higher plane.
Exactly. It's like it's imbued with a certain magic or spiritual energy that has the capacity to deal with things that otherwise would be impossible to deal with. And it feels lighter. My experience, I feel lighter, and the whole situation feels lighter. And I think that lightness opens up all these possibilities, and sometimes like things resolve themselves actually, which is quite interesting when that happens. That's always the best thing. Ideally, it doesn't always happen that way, but it's kind of fun when I let go, have remembrance, and somehow like I might get a message and everything's fine and there's nothing to do at all. But a lot of the time, I still have to take action, but it feels totally different.
Yes, it does feel very different. I want to go back on this, right? To reframe surrender as trust, that it's an ultimate act of trust. Mm-hmm. But not only it's an ultimate act of trust, but to reframe surrender as not that I'm losing control or I'm giving up control, but to really take a moment, and even if you have to say this 100 times during any situation, during your day when things are difficult, to keep reframing your identity as I am held, I am safe, divine guidance, I'm divinely guided, divine guidance is coming to me. So you have to keep reframing these things, reframing it in your mind. You have to keep saying it. Don't think I'm giving up control. Just think, oh, I'm being guided, I'm being held, I'm being guided, I'm being held, I'm safe. That's what it needs to, you have to start thinking like that.
Yeah.
Right? And every time you might think they're just words, but they're not just words, right? Your whole mental thing shifts when you keep saying these words to yourself, right? I'm safe, I'm held, I'm guided, I'm safe, I'm held, I'm guided. And then you kind of mentally follow that with this act of surrender.
And while you're doing that, just keep surrendering whatever negative feelings arise the moment they arise, without a story, as to just clear it all out in the process. And then everything works out, and it often works out different than we think, and it works out better than we think. And bottom line is we feel at peace with life, and that's the most important thing, really, isn't it?
However it works out. No?
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen.
Any situation, it's really good to surrender. Also means in a situation that you're okay with however it works out, because you need to have this very deep faith that it's all working out for the highest good of everyone.
I'm surrendered
that deep faith
to the
has
highest
to be
good
there.
for all. Yeah, it's a great.
Right.
I'm surrendered to the highest good for all. Such a nice expression.
So if you think that, oh, me surrendering, like you don't have these preconceived notions of how it works out, right? Because that's not surrender then. That's just, making a request and waiting for God to fulfill your request, right? Surrender means however it works out, you're okay.
Yeah, and you're open to new ideas that might be better than what you planned, which is often the case. Oh, there's a much better way of doing this. Oh, well. Yeah, so instead of living on the ego, we're living on divine will and surrender and freedom and mastery. Ah, yes. So let's close with a blessing to
Yay, blessing. Should we do a surrender blessing?
Surrender blessing. Let's see what we've got here.
Surrender blessing.
This is Serene's wonderful book, God's Blessings for You, which she refuses to do any marketing for. I want to see if you can do some marketing for your book, Shereen. Tell us about your book.
Tell us about the book. Yeah, I've written 2 books after this.
She just knocks them out. Look at this. I've got another one of your books here. Look. Here it is. Awakening from the Matrix. And so anyway, they keep on coming. So yeah, we have surrender. And we have the book.
I'm reading the back thing. In a time of fear and uncertainty, God's Blessings for You, this book, invites you on an intimate journey to rediscover the power within. Rid your mind of negativity and savor inner peace. Each blessing brings you closer to God, restoring your hope and faith in life.
Yay. So if you want to feel blessed, get a little blessing, like a blessing card every day. So there it is. And what's our blessing today?
Surrender, right?
All right, yeah.
Surrender. You, the soul. So I want each of you to think of this blessing as though it's really coming from God to you. Surrender. You, the soul, resonate with tranquility. You've attained this serene state by surrendering to God's guidance and embracing it in every aspect of your life. Your presence is a lighthouse of serenity for those seeking enlightened freedom. I remember writing this one. Your presence is a lighthouse of serenity for those seeking enlightened freedom. That's what surrender is. Yeah. It's enlightened freedom. Who doesn't want freedom?
And even better if it's enlightened
Everyone
freedom.
wants freedom, right?
Yeah.
Even in today's world, if you do something, misbehave in society, what is taken away? Your freedom. Because everyone knows that's the thing that people really want, freedom.
That's true. So surrender is letting go of negative feelings and personal opinion and experiencing a state of freedom, which is what we all want. Yay. Thank you, Shereen. Thank you for your blessings.
Thank you, Michael. That was wonderful.
Yay. So we have lots of free meditations, courses. We keep adding to it, books, everything, all free. You can get it in the link below this podcast. and wishing you total freedom, joy, happiness, and peace. Talk to you soon.